I call to order this meeting of the Carson City Regional Transportation Commission for the second time. This is Tuesday, November 17th, 2015. We are in the Sierra Room at the Community Center at 851 East William Street. It is 6:16. Kathy, can we have a roll call, please?
Chairperson Bonkowski.
Here.
Vice Chairperson Smolinski.
Here.
Commissioner Kroll.
Here.
Commissioner Kimbrough.
Here.
Commissioner McQuarrie.
Here.
Quorum is present.
Thank you. So we will move on to item B, public comment. Is there anybody left out there that would like to come up to the podium at this time for public comment? You may approach the podium and speak on matters related to the RTC. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person per topic. If your item requires extended discussion, please request the chair to calendar the matter for a future meeting. No action may be taken upon any matter raised under this item of the agenda unless the matter itself has been specifically included on the agenda as an item on which action may be taken. Is there any public comment at this time? I see none, so we'll move on to item C, approval of the minutes of September 21st, 2015. Has everybody had a chance to read those? I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none.
Abstain, I was absent.
Okay. When we get to the vote, you can abstain. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. And one abstention. So the vote is 4-0-1. So we will move on to item D, agenda management notice. We may take items out of order from the agenda. We may combine two or more items for consideration, or we may remove an item from the agenda or delay discussion to a future time. So if there's no objections, we will accept the agenda as published. Okay, so accepted. Item E, disclosures. Is there any member of the RTC that would like to explain any contact with the public regarding an item on the agenda or business of the RTC? I see 4 no's, so we'll move on to item F, F1 for possible action to approve a development agreement with Maverick Inc. for reimbursement of 50% of the installation cost to install a traffic signal at the College Parkway and Research Way intersection. Who's going to take this? Patrick?
Yes, I will take this. Thank you. So we have, as mentioned, is the intersection of College Parkway Research Way is what we're discussing today. There is currently significant development in this area, and there is a proposal by Maverick to expand their current facility on the southwest corner. It is currently a gas station convenience store. They are planning a significant development to the south, which includes facilities primarily designed to serve semi-trucks at a very advantageous location. They did perform a required traffic impact study for this area, and we did determine that there would be further impacts to this intersection, and the city actually took the good study that was already performed and provided by Maverick and their engineer. We did further study and have been working with Maverick ever since in the pursuit of improvement to the intersection of College and Research to improve the safety of that intersection and to allow for the safe operations after the desirable development by Maverick. What you have before you is a proposed agreement between RTC and Maverick, which would basically provide for the installation of a traffic signal. The basics are that the city would be performing at city cost and using primarily in-house resources, would be designing the intersection, the improvements to the intersection, and then the Maverick would then take that design, award a contract, and construct that traffic signal designed by the city, and then the city would reimburse, the RTC would reimburse Maverick for 50% of the cost of the construction. Included actually in the very back of your packet, on the back of the proposed agreement, there are displays of preliminary design that the city actually put together and cost estimate for that intersection. That information, along with the cost estimate, have been provided to Maverick for their review for confirmation of reasonableness at this point, and that has been confirmed by them. We were intentionally, fairly generous as far as the cost to make sure that, for example, we have a 10% contingency, and the design and testing and construction maintenance are all 10% as well, even assuming the contingency were used. So we believe that we're comfortable there.
Patrick, I think you
Yes.
meant 20% contingency plus 10% contingency on the design and the testing?
Yes, exactly. That is correct, and we believe that those are reasonable, and Maverick has confirmed that with their own sources, that they believe this is an appropriate estimate. Now, there is a draft agreement included in your packet, but I did distribute to each member 2 documents. We do have proposed changes. They are not numerous, but I provided you with 2 documents. One of them that looks gray, it has a gray bar on the side. That is a marked up version, so with track changes so that you can see exactly what the proposed changes are. Maverick has been provided with those. They are in possession of them now. And I will certainly invite them to speak, but they have indicated their agreement with those changes. And the other copy that I gave you is a clean copy, which reflects all of the proposed changes. We did not attach the attachments because there were no changes to the attachments. If you wish, I can provide you a moment to review the proposed changes. But in short, the changes were actually a result of a review by our bond counsel. We always provide these documents for review, of course, by the district attorney's office, by our own offices, and the finance director. And she rightfully checked with her bond counsel, because this is not a common type of agreement for us to enter into. And the results of their recommendations and further discussions with both Maverick and the district attorney's office have resulted in the changes proposed here. Mr. Chair, what's your desire?
Do any of the committee members need some additional time to read through the changes? Yeah, there's only a handful of them here, so I think everybody's had a chance to look at them.
Okay. I believe, seeing that nothing else has changed compared to what you were previously provided, unless someone has a specific question for myself or other staff or the district attorney, I would certainly give the representative from Maverick the opportunity to state his piece as you wish.
Okay, first, what we'll do is see if there's any questions for you from any of the commissioners. Jim?
Patrick, in our packet, when you get back to the drawings, would be the first one where it says Maverick Carson City number 409 expansion. It looks like it shows the existing gas station, convenience store, and then the southwest portion of that lot. Mm-hmm. It looks like it's been highlighted, or is that new roadway, or I'm trying to determine what that is.
Oh, yes. What's actually being highlighted on this, it shows the area to the south, and you can see there are several arrows on that, denotes the direction of travel of the trucks that are going to those pumps or the weigh station. That kind of dark gray shaded area is actually showing the turning movement of the vehicles, just to show that they can maneuver in that space.
So that's the traffic flow for the trucks.
That is correct.
Okay,
It's something
gotcha.
that's
Thank you.
important with that size of vehicle.
Are there any additional questions? Bob?
Just a clarification question. So Patrick, the way the document's been redrafted, it's a not to exceed amount of $300,000 then?
Well, yes, we, hang on me, just a moment, I'll get to that page. Yes, basically, that was, probably the most significant change that was made to the document at the request of bond counsel. The text that we were required to add was regarding the appropriation of funds, and the developer asked that we put something else in there regarding the number of years. We believe that our cost estimate right now is, it would have us completing payments within 4 years. We added 2. That would be in the case that we either have a cost overrun, or if under the very unlikely scenario that there were a non-appropriation of funds in 1 year, the funding would continue in subsequent years when funding is available.
And one last question, on the next paragraph underneath that one, on paragraph 7, if there is a grant from NDOT, both parties get to share in the benefit of that grant as a cost offset?
Yes, I'm just making sure that is my understanding. I just want to confirm that is, yes, that is correct.
All right.
So just to further clarify on the mayor's clarification, this does not mean that it's a not to exceed 300,000, because in the final payment, it may not be a full 50,000, correct? It'll be the actual remaining balance.
Yes, that is correct. So, for example, if the estimate were exactly correct, which I'm sure it won't be, we would make 3 payments of $50,000, and then the 4th payment would be something less than that to make the final payment.
Well, wait a minute. Let me just ask, so I know we're just having a sidebar up here, but we're gonna pay $193,000 plus $89,000 for the design and development. That's how you get to the 283, right? Or 282?
Yes, that is correct. I just will note that.
So the 50% applies to the. So what you're saying then, what the chair is saying is the clarification is, we're going to pay $89,000, which is not subject to the 50/50 rule, but the $193,000, and I know that's an estimate here, is the 50/50 rule.
Yes, that is correct.
All right. That's how you get to the 3 years, or what do you think?
Well, the actual, yes, that's correct. And of course, the cost of design, like I said, most of that will be costs incurred in-house.
But we're going to come up with, who's going to upfront the $89,000?
We are. It's not going to be an actual cash payment. It'll be primarily our services, the value of our services to do the design.
So just so I'm clear, and I think the chair has enlightened me, the total cost to us is roughly $282,000.
That is correct.
Including staff time.
That is correct.
All right. And we're not going to, and the contract, the development agreement says we're not going to exceed, it provides some degree of latitude in there that there's, that there may be, the cost may be greater than that.
That is correct.
All right. I'm okay with that. All right. Thank you. I think, did I do that right? All right. Who knows? Trying, it's been 6:30, man. Okay.
Do we have any additional comments or questions from the commissioners? Seeing none, then I would like to provide an opportunity for the representative from Everett to come up and make a statement or comments if he would choose to.
I'll bring Paul Salegi, our traffic engineer, up here as well with me. I don't think I have too much comment more than the document presents itself. From our initial discussions, we're trying to be collaborative with Carson City, and have appreciated very much Darren and Patrick, their time and efforts in putting this together. I do feel like the agreement from its initial stages has shifted much more to the benefit of the city in terms of the percentage that we would contribute, and so we do feel like its current state is something we can agree to, but if it were to be more than that, that would push us away from doing the development. So that's what I think I'd like to, express. I don't know if you have any questions for us.
Can I
Are
have you
there any-
state your name for the record,
Oh,
please?
Craig Romrell with Maverick.
Thank you.
Do any of the commissioners have any questions for Craig?
Yeah, very good.
All right, thank you very much, Craig.
Can I make a comment that it is, I don't know how you get the word out, but that is hugely appreciative from myself and from probably all the citizens of the community that your willingness to pay that amount of money to fix that intersection. And I'm one of your great customers there, and it's a very dangerous intersection, very difficult, especially when there's a Harley event there.
Yeah.
It's quite exciting there. What you do is just get in with the motorcycles, and they all go anyway, and you just follow them. But I think that's really great, and it's greatly appreciated. So I hope you leave here understanding how appreciative it is and
Sure.
how to work this out with Patrick. So
Thank you.
And I would add that, we do appreciate the cooperation on the part of Maverick, but there's a benefit to both parties here.
Sure.
You wouldn't be able to get trucks in and out without fixing the intersection. We want you to have more business, but we also want the intersection fixed. So I think that this agreement, it does have a definite benefit to all parties, and we're looking forward to seeing the development actually happen.
Thank you. Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Thank you. Is there anybody at this time that would like to come up for public comment on this item? I see none, so I will bring this item back to the board for a motion.
I'll make a
Commission?
motion. I move to approve a development agreement with Maverick Incorporated for reimbursement of 50% of the cost to install a traffic signal at the College Parkway and Research Way intersection.
And that motion's with, on the agreement as amended that we have tonight. The development agreement we're talking about is the one we have tonight. That's just to make sure that we're on.
So
With
if
the
the
new
motion
agreement as
Right.
received tonight?
and the second continues?
Yes.
Great. So we have a motion and a second. Any final discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, vote nay. Okay, it passes unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen. Moving on to item F2, for possible action to determine that MNW Construction LLC is the lowest responsive and responsible bidder pursuant to NRS Chapter 338, and to award contract number 1516-064 wide crack repair project for a bid amount of $227,000 plus a 10% contingency amount of $22,700 for a total not to exceed price of $249,700 to be funded from the CTEX Streets account. Patrick.
Thank you very much. This is an item that has been discussed at previous meetings, both at the RTC and actually at the Board of Supervisors back in spring. The brief recap is that the Board of Supervisors acted to transfer about $370,000 into the Streets Fund specifically for street maintenance activities that are in dire need in the city, and with the intention that we would seek out public comment and respond to those public comments and seek to make improvements in the areas identified. The total of $370,000 is not being proposed to be expended in this contract. As is mentioned in the document, the total, even if the entire contingency were used, is slightly under $250,000. We will be using the remaining funds, likely in spring, to make other street repairs, including patching type repairs. The repairs that will be provided here will be actually repair of wide cracks in the city. We have a problem that's actually well known throughout this region. It's not one that is specific to Carson City. In fact, I just recently had a discussion with a person who retired, who was now in the private sector, but he retired after many years working for Washoe County Maintenance, and he is actually in the private sector now looking at addressing this issue region-wide, as he thinks it's an opportunity for business. Unfortunately, we do have some cracks that are 3 to 6 to 8 inches and bigger, and the proposal is that we are going to, through this private contractor, we are going to saw cut out a foot-wide strip of the road, going across the road, transverse across the road, and then we are going to patch back with actual asphalt, not with not with a rubber emulsion material, but actual asphalt, the same material the road is made out of. And we will do that until we, basically until we run out of money. There are certainly more cracks than we can do in the city, but we have identified on a map, a list of the ones that are the highest priority to get to. I will absolutely give them an opportunity to talk. We actually have two of our crack engineers here because this is not something we've done before here. We need all the big brains we can get here. We are actually going to be, we city employees, a couple of our staff members are actually going to be identifying for the contractor which cracks are going to be addressed, and we are going to be moving through different areas of the city. This is not just one neighborhood. So we will be in different parts of the city doing work, and we will continue to identify the cracks as we go through with the contractor. We are hoping to award this contract this evening. This is not extremely weather dependent like some other activities, but there are definite limits that we can do this in, and we are coming into this with our eyes open, knowing that we may not be able to go out and do all the work here. We are understanding of that. If we have to not complete it now and come back in spring, we know the cracks will still be there when we get there.
Patrick, before we bring the engineers up, if they're going to make any comments, could you just take a brief moment and kind of go through the test program that we just
Yes,
did as
absolutely.
well? Just for the clarification or
Yes, it was-
edification of the public.
Yes, absolutely. We, the city has a trailer that we use to fill in cracks. Many of the public have seen us do that over the last many years. And it's basically melting a rubberized material that goes into the cracks. But that is not as effective on these wide cracks. Another thing that we did was that we got a demonstration, got the use of another machine that's similar to ours, except for the one that we're demonstrating actually has rock aggregate in the mixture. And we were able to do that on several roads in town, and we're going to be watching those very carefully to see how well that worked for future reference. One of the issues we have with the material that we use is that while it's a good thing to do, it's good for the road, over time it does shrink and crack. And this material that we were working with actually has aggregate in it. So we did go out to several streets and did apply to some different cracks. One of them that is a street that's come up before in discussions was Colorado Street. The city, actually using our technique, went out and did the smaller cracks with our materials, but we used this demonstration to go out and fill some of the larger cracks on Colorado. So those were done with a different technique, which we're going to see how that goes.
At no cost to the city,
Yes,
other than
yeah,
staff time.
Yes, we did not buy that machine. We used the machine.
We got the company to come out and give us a free demonstration, and we got some city asphalt cracks filled.
Cracks filled, and very importantly, we got a demonstration of a different product that we will see how we think it performs.
Great. So, engineers, did you have anything to add?
Unless there's any questions.
Do you have any questions of the engineers?
No, I got technical.
All right, come on up, gentlemen.
Okay, so this will be a new way of preparing or fixing cracks in Carson City. Is that we haven't done this before, really? I mean, as far as patching them.
And don't forget to identify yourselves, please.
Tom Grundy with Carson City Public Works. We have actually used this technique on Clearview east of or west of the bridge.
Okay.
So we've done it a little bit.
Some of the other communities I've seen do this, the new asphalt goes in the 12-inch swath, and it stays 12 inches wide, and the rest of the road continues to shrink. And so now you end up with, in a couple of years, you have 2 3-inch cracks that you have to crack fill. Is that a concern?
We recognize that. We thought about that, and we recognize that will probably happen. But we'll have a narrow crack filled with rubber versus a wide crack filled with rubber, so the ride quality will be a lot better.
I've actually seen some of those get up to 3 and 4 inches wide on either side of the patch across the road, and then that's a huge huge problem that it takes a lot more crack filler down the road.
If I may, we actually did, certainly Tom Grundy's right about Clearview. We also did some of the old Kitchen neighborhood, actually Kitchen and some of Kingsley in 2008, and they were wider ones. And indeed, there are cracks on either side, but they're certainly not 3 inches. And being a resident, frankly, of that area, 7 years on, while you do have 2 smaller cracks, you really don't get that, thump, 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 thump when people drive over them that you had back when they were big wide cracks.
Is this potentially any recommendation to do it, maintenance this way coming from UNR at all with our agreement with them?
No, their work is more system-wide efforts, shall we say.
Well, I agree, something will have to be done with the larger cracks, so if it's patching and 12 inches wide, then that potentially a good method, so, yeah, thank you.
Thanks, gentlemen. All right, I'll open this up for public discussion, public comment. Seeing as there's no more public here, we'll bring this back to the commission, and I will entertain a motion.
I move to determine that MNW Construction LLC is the lowest responsive and responsible bidder pursuant to NRS Chapter 338 and to award contract number 1516-064 wide crack repair project for a bid amount of $227,000 plus a 10% contingency amount of $22,700 for a total not to exceed price of $249,700 to be funded from the CTX Streets account.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes unanimously. Moving on to item F3 for possible action to accept Public Works recommendation to approve amendment number 5 to contract number 1011-126 with Swift Communications, Inc., titled Jack Bus Advertising Program, to amend the compensation section to add clarifying language and to exercise a 1-year contract extension from January 1, 2016 to December 31, 2016.
Thank you,
Right.
Mr. Chair. The original term of this contract was 2 years with 5 one-year options, and provides for the sale of ad space on Jack buses and shelters. The proposed amendment this time around would actually be, would leave one final 1-year option after this, and the language that is being proposed was actually a point that was brought up by the Nevada Appeal. They had a new finance director over there, saw some liability, proposed some additional language that would cover them on that. What it means for Jack, the RTC. First of all, I'll just point out that the revenue that this program generates is about $30,000 per year, and it's used as match for federal dollars, FTA dollars. So back to the change to the language, just a clarification. What this means for us is that basically if there's any defaulted payments by people who reserve ad space, this would come back and kind of even things up, retroactively speaking. And I've gotten an estimate from the Nevada Appeal. They said so far this year they haven't had any defaulted payments. This is not a regular occurrence. It's kind of just a fail safe, like, once again, and they do estimate that we can kind of project going forward 0.14% of net losses from these defaulted payments, which to us means only about a $40 loss on our budgeted annual revenue share of $30,000. So very minimal hit hit to us, if anything. As I mentioned, there weren't any defaulted payments this year. But that was some language that they felt was important to get added into the contract, and we agree. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions of the commissioners? Bob?
You got to help me with the language on this one.
Okay.
I mean, on the amendment the way I read that, on the change to 5.5, in the event an advertiser fails to pay after 90 days of invoice, the revenue associated with the sale will be written off. So that means that the counterparty to this, which is the Nevada appeal, can essentially get 90 days free advertising. Is that right or wrong?
Correct. Sorry. Correct. In effect, that's what would end up happening. They do sometimes have extended length contracts, and so if they have the ad already in the space and they collect at the end of the quarter, and then it just so happens they weren't able to collect on one quarter, yes, that advertiser would have ended up, in effect, getting free advertising space. And in the past, what had happened was they paid us, the Nevada appeal paid us for that space, and then they just ended up having to eat the entire lost cost.
Because the appeal is buying advertising space and then someone else is advertising on it? Is that what's going on? I guess I'm at a loss to understand that.
They sell the space. Yeah.
So in other words, they're selling the space, and what they're saying is, hey, if we don't get paid, you don't pay you, and we want the ability to get 90 days off because we're not getting paid. Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, the Nevada appeals role in this is they sell the space. They go out, they find people who want to advertise on jack buses and shelters. They produce the ads, they put them on there. Our role is just simply providing the space to advertise on, and then they give their basically if they're unable to collect on an invoice after 90 days, that's when they finally say, okay, well, we're essentially giving up on trying to collect for that. They write it off as they claim in here, and that's when they would come to us and divvy up that net loss.
Well, I guess I understand it now. If I were drafting it, I'd kind of write it a little differently, but, I'm not going to pick at that. I would just say, it's difficult to write off revenue when you haven't received the revenue. And that's what we're really saying here, so.
Well, they pay us monthly based on the advertising space that was sold.
Right.
So if, they paid us and then later on down the line they weren't actually able to collect for a portion of that, then they would have to come back and reduce our next
It's okay. As long as everybody understands what's going on there, it's fine with me.
And please be reassured that this is not a common occurrence. And if it does become a common occurrence because the mayor's pointed it out to them, then we'll deal with that.
In regards to that, it's kind of like deferred revenue in a sense. But my question is that, so the appeal sells the space. Do they provide the ad copy that goes on the space? They install it, or does the city install it?
Nevada Appeal installs it.
And then how soon after they don't collect after 90 days do they come and remove it?
I would assume it would be immediately. As Patrick mentioned, that's not a common occurrence and hasn't happened at all this year, so I can't recall, but I would assume they'd remove that immediately. They do have people in town that switch out ads constantly, so.
This is a revenue sharing plan, correct? So if they don't sell the space and they don't take down advertisements for companies that are not paying them, then they're not making money either, correct?
Correct. So there's that.
So there's some
incentive.
motivation for them to
Yes,
stay
there
on
is
top of
certainly
this
that
and to
incentive.
minimize it.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Have any additional questions or comments? Any public comment? Okay, I'll bring this back to the commission and entertain a motion.
I'll do it if you want. I move to accept Public Works recommendation to approve Amendment Number 5 to contract number 1011-126 with Swift Communications, Inc., entitled Jack Bus Advertising Program, to amend the compensation section to add clarifying language and to exercise a one-year contract extension from January 1, 2016 to December 31st, 2016.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes unanimously. We are now on to item G1, the internal communications and street operations report.
Under the street operations report, this is, we see this every month, but once again, this is, as I once said in the newspaper, your gas tax dollars at work. As you can see, the activities carried out by city staff included crack sealing, pothole filling, even tree removal. I know that actually the one on Baker Drive, I was the one that was out for a walk and saw a very badly heaved sidewalk that was due to a tree. And our staff addressed the tree and the very heaved sidewalk, which shows up on page 2 under the concrete repair and maintenance. Glad we could get to that. Street sweeping, and then the one that always impresses me, frankly, is the signs and markings on page 304, just the sheer volume of stop bars and arrows and crosswalks and all those things we take for granted while we're driving around that keep us all safe, whether we're driving a car or riding a bike or crossing the street on a freshly painted crosswalk.
Patrick, there's a lot more work on this report than we normally see. Is that because it was September and everything was trying to be finished?
That's, well, yes, and maybe in some of them, but I think we, in some of the categories, I believe that was the case, but I think that we are frequently doing concrete work, just about year round as long as weather's permitting, and trees come up all the time. So, yes, there was a significant amount of work, and it does vary, certainly, but yeah, we are doing work year round.
Are there any questions from the commissioners? I see none, so we'll move on to item G2, project status report.
Okay. Starting, of course, page 1, east-west water transmission main, happy to report that is now underway. Once again, as we have said in previous meetings, we have that, even though it is a utility project, we do include it here because there will be significant impacts to the street, Washington Street, from Roop down to Phillip Street. The good news is that while there will be significant impacts to the street, there will actually be significant improvements to the street as part of this project. Graham and I have actually been, mostly Graham, been working on the rerouting of jack buses and other buses at the downtown transfer point due to this project. So there will be some shifts in bus stop downtown and a little bit of routing due to this project. But we're happy to report that it is now well underway. The Clear Creek Avenue sanitary sewer extension, I think this will be the last time this shows up on this report because the project is now substantially complete. If you drove down it today, you would say it was done and just a matter of closing it out. And we're happy to report that we believe that, of course, you don't see the sewer main underground, but you do see the street, and we do think it's a significant improvement over what was there previously. Division Street roadway repaving, also well underway. And Darren, you can clarify me if I'm wrong. I believe there isn't, the time frame is actually relatively quick. I think it's going to be done, is it next week?
Pretty sure it's the week after.
The week after next?
Yeah,
Okay.
after Thanksgiving, yeah.
Yes, but it's actually moving along very quickly. Significant work has already happened over there on Division Street. And once again, I'll repeat what I said previously, and this is intentionally and consciously being done now so that it is out of the way prior to Carson Street being impacted in a few months for the downtown Carson Street project. The freeway multi-use path, I actually saw 30+% design this morning for this path, and they're working on quantities and cost estimate now to make sure that they're right where they're supposed to be, but even just at this level of design, I can see that it's coming along quite well, these improvements along the freeway there to connect to the linear path. The wide crack repair project, that was just awarded at this meeting, and we look forward to moving forward with that project with our private contractor. And the Empire Area 80 sidewalk improvements, I'll steal my own thunder for future agenda items. That one, we're actually at 100% design and basically ready to bring it to this body for review. Once we actually put out the bid, of course, we expect to bring it back to you, I think, in January for award so that work can commence after, as soon as the weather is good enough to go. These improvements are primarily along Monte Rosa, just to the northeast of the school, and actually will also improve one of the Jack bus stops over there. And we also include the traffic line, because every year we do a long line contract. And that's it.
Are there any questions on the project status report?
I can't get to my office.
Yeah. That's what I was just going to say. That's not a question.
That's how you know we're not discriminating.
Is there's this really cool website now?
I got it too, man. I'm going to send a picture to Patrick.
Okay, moving on to item G3, future agenda items. Patrick, other than the Empire sidewalks?
I don't have anything specific right now, but I will mention, because the members of this group are also members of CAMPO, that we will be having a CAMPO meeting next month, and we will be dealing, Graham here will have 2 items, the use of Federal Transit Administration 5339 capital and 5310, which is used for operating transit funds.
Any future agenda items from the commissioners? Okay, then we'll move on to item H, commission comments. Do you have any final comments from any of the commissioners?
Yeah, let me just say, I thought, Mr. Chairman, you did a wonderful job in running the joint meeting between the RAC and the RTC earlier this evening, and well organized. So that's what I'd like to just say. Pat on the back.
Thank you, sir. Do you have any additional comments? Okay, then we will move on to our final public comment, and since there's no public here, we will move on to item J for possible action adjournment.
So moved.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brad. Good job.